Well, again, welcome to the meeting. This is our webcast for Civil 3D 2008. My name's Heidi Boutwell. I'm an applications engineer here for PPI, and I run tech support sometimes, but I'm mainly teaching Intro to Civil 3D and some of the advanced courses that we do have here. And today we're going to discuss intersections and curb returns using Civil 3D 2008. And just to give you an idea of what's going on, hopefully everybody can see my screen. We're going to go over creating an intersection. We're going to create one type of an intersection within a corridor. There are about 5 or 6 different types of an intersection creation. There's T intersections, which we'll do today. There's 4 ways, 3 ways, 5 ways, and there's a couple different routes each time to how you want to handle your intersection design control, whether the main road that you're dumping into is the one that holds slope overall, or whether you're trying to blend the whole intersection at one point. So they each have their own flavor. We're going to work with a T road where the main road is going to be the master holding its 30 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour speed limit. And the road coming in to the intersection is a new driveway taken off from there. That way the new drive will blend into the existing pavement. So that's what we're going to do. We're also going to take from that intersection that we create within a corridor, we're going to actually create a profile from one of the corridor feature lines. And we're also going to create a finished grade profile for each curb return off of that corridor. And finally, we'll apply a surface to our corridor. Granted, we may not do that in this exact order that I've got up here, but it will be close, and you will be able to follow along. Again, I am recording this, so we will be able to access this later if you would like to take this webcast back home, and review it. It is being recorded. So if you want to learn more, like I said, PPI, we do a lot of teaching. I'm one of the teachers here. We teach Intro to Civil 3D. We do teach styles for Civil 3D. And we do a lot of advanced classes too, some road design and rehabilitation, some advanced grading, some piping design, some intersection and cul-de-sac, and parts builder, of course. And there you got the website there you can go to check out pricing and when they're available. And thank you all for joining me today on this afternoon's webcast. And again, there should be a survey going out after this is over, so feel free to keep an eye out for that survey. Now I gotta get my GoToMeeting thing here working right. And let me put pause on here and switch over real quick. Gotta love it. Got a lot of people in here. Alright, we're going to bounce to Civil 3D. And hopefully everybody can see my screen there. Civil 3D 2008. I'm running Service Pack 2. I'm on Vista. I'm on the 32-bit machine. It will work on a Vista box, so if you ever wanted to know, now you do. It works wonderfully, by the way, on Vista. This is a site up in Sandy, Oregon. I've worked on this site. I've designed it. It's in the middle of being built. They're putting some houses down in this rough vicinity on this site. It's got some pretty serious setbacks and concerns. It's got a 30% or greater hill sloping in the middle to northern portion of the site and the southern portion of the site. There is a creek, it's Tickle Creek in Sandy, Oregon, that runs through this site. So there's not a lot of design that can be done on this road other than punching a road into it and putting some building pads on there. We can get about 6 houses on this site according to what the city of Sandy will let us do. And that's fine and dandy. But what we're going to do today is, here's Dubarco Road. Dubarco Road's approximately a 25 mile an hour road. It is a main drag. It's pretty hilly. This over here is Highway 211, and it's approximately 55 miles an hour, and it's really steep. We're going to work on creating an intersection here on Dubarco Road, and as I slowly zoom in here, you can see I've put in a new alignment right here. This is my driveway alignment going in. And then I've made some quickie curb return alignments. I'm going for like a 20-foot overall driveway. And these are some 25-foot radius curb returns. This is my west curb return. And this one over here is my east curb return. The goal is that these curb returns meet up with the existing grade at the front of the curb, where it meets up with the asphalt, with both of them. We will be wiping out this curb line in here. So some thoughts here on how we're going to accomplish this. I've got some sub-assemblies and assembly pieces put together. I know that back here on my plan view, you'll see that, let me move this tag real quick. Hey, you little bugger. It's supposed to move. Reset the label. Just get it off there. As you can see, I've got a retaining wall, an existing retaining wall sitting right here. And it is about a foot above grade, and it's basically holding up the neighbor's property. There's not a whole lot to it. There's also an existing retaining wall over here, but I'm not going to deal with that today. We are going to mimic this retaining wall and what should be going on. There's an existing house already on the property with a nice gravel drive and some existing trees. So back up at the top here of my drawing, I've made some assembly pieces. I thought about this. This is pretty much what's going on with Dubarco. It's a shed type road. I'm doing about a 2.5% slope from one end to the other. And I've got it with a sidewalk and a backside planter with a, I believe that's a 2-to-1 cut fill. Let me double check that real quick. That's 3-to-1, excuse me. Cut or fill slope. And this is the assembly for the intersection portion of the road. Note, I've got a curb here. I've got nothing on the right side, and that is because when I come down here and I put it into play, I do not want a curb in this area in here at all. I want this to be asphalt to asphalt. So you'll need at least 2 assemblies, one for your main road and one for your intersection. And whether or not you put a sidewalk and all that on an existing road doesn't matter. Whether or not I use an assembly on an existing road won't really matter, but for representational purposes here, I'm going to apply one. Okay. Otherwise, I could just use this base existing alignment right here without an assembly and call it good. But that's, to get the idea of what's going on, I'm putting in an assembly. For the new road coming in, it's a 20-foot wide road, and I've got a 10-foot and a 10-foot lane, a couple curbs and gutters, a sidewalk over here with a 6-foot wide planter, a plain sidewalk over here using the same sidewalk, and I believe that's a 3-to-1, and this is a 2-to-1. I've also, because of the way this is numbered, this is starting at, of course, 0 here, which means this is my right side, this is my left side. So this is my left. My retaining wall is going in on this side over here. And I've made a half assembly piece because there's a significant gap between where this curb return alignment starts and where this one starts, and that's where I will apply that, is between this little gap here to fill in the holes. Okay, so we've got that to fill in the holes, and then I have 2 curb return alignments. This one's my west. There's no retaining wall. It's got a 3-to-1 slope back here. It's got the nice sidewalk with planter. It's got my curb and gutter. And note that this slope here on my lane is opposite what's going on down here. This is going negative, this is going positive. That's because this is reaching to the center line. This is down below. It's coming from the center line and going out. That's really important to know. Also, when you're doing a curb return, whatever lane is not connected to the assembly, this piece over here to the far right, this is going to be my target width and my target profile area. So you can retarget that in the targets box and say stretch to this center line. Use this center line's finished grade profile and go from there. Okay. This is the east curb return. There's a retaining wall, sidewalk. And again, the lane is opposite what it would have been over here. And note it looks identical to here, which is what it should look like, because my assembly piece is now on my lip of my gutter to the edge of my asphalt. Okay. So it should look just like that. And that will work for us today. I also note when I'm down here, let me take another look down here at the curb returns. My zeros, one starts here and one starts here. Well, as I'm going, that means on my assembly, my lane needs to be on the left side. On my curb return east, it needs to be on my left side for the lane. And the curb, gutter, and curb and sidewalk and retaining wall need to be on the right side. Over here on the curb return west, my lane needs to be on the right side, and my curb, gutter, sidewalk, and anything else needs to be on my left side. So I have to think this through. Just like normal stationing, it works the same way. A lot of people, when they do this, they'll be smart enough that when I created this, I was just, sitting out there creating it. It is intelligent to, instead of having 0 over here, to put 0 up at the top. So they're opposite. That way you use one assembly for both of them. if they're going to be identical. But in this case, these are two separate assemblies because they are two separate pieces. The east side has a retaining wall and the west side does not. So that's fine. But if they had been identical, I could have flipped or reversed the alignment direction on the west side, and it would have shared the same assembly as the east side. Okay. Up here, I've already sampled DeBarco Road. This is a 20 and 5, just to give you an idea. It's a nice steep looking road, and it's got a severe hill on it. It's probably about 8 or 9%. It's my new driveway. I've sampled that also. And I've started the new driveway at the edge of pavement, which is right here. It's top piece of this profile right there. That is the top of the curb. So that's my starting point. And I've gone 2%. And I've tried to keep it under 11 since that is what Sandy's requirements generally are, is under 11%. And that's all I've really drawn for finished grades. All right, from here on, it is time to definitely get started with a corridor. I've got a 3.83 acre parcel. Over here in my tool space, I'm going to start over there. I've got a corridor, got some alignments. They've got their profiles. We don't need that one. Oops, wrong one. Get rid of the old finished grade that I didn't really do. I want to clean these up just a hair because I don't want to get confused while I'm doing this. Make sure they all are correct with the right profiles. That's right. Okay. We're doing good. All right. So the first thing I want to do is make a corridor from property line to just probably about station 800 over here, because I got to go a little bit beyond what's going on with this east curb return just to make sure it picks it up right. So I'm going to start with a corridor, create a simple corridor, and I could probably just call this DeBarco Road. That's fine. Maybe I want to call this actually Troutner. I don't know. Or Tickle Creek. How about that? Tickle with a K. Tickle Creek. I'm going to use the basic style. You could use the standard style, but the basic has everything preset correctly for colors. The standard, it'll be on 0 and it'll be all white, kind of ugly. It's going to throw the base corridor, the base object itself down the C-road-corridor layer. I could change that up if I wanted to. I'm just going to hit OK. And down in my command line, it's going to ask me to select a baseline alignment. I'm going to right-click and choose the existing ground, the existing DeBarco Road alignment. It's going to ask me to select a profile. If I right-click, I only have one. It's an existing grade. So I'll choose that. And it's going to ask me again for a select an assembly. I'll just right-click the mouse again. I'll choose my existing road assembly that I created. And I get the target mapping box, and it's going to ask me to target everything. I'll click here and set them all to existing ground. And no, I've named some of my lanes. They're showing up here as existing left lane, existing right. The same thing with the profiles. That is something that's important to do when you make these assemblies, is to make sure you name your subassembly pieces when it comes to targeting. If I go up here back to my subassemblies and my assemblies, this is my existing road that we're using right now. If I select one with the left click, a right click on it, go to subassembly properties. I've renamed this to existing lane. That comes into play into that target box. I can change up the parameters in here if I choose to. But it's important that I do that, because the more baselines and regions I add, the more confusing the box gets. And if I don't really do that, I'm going to be lost in outer space. And when I try to figure out what lane is what, I'm going to be going, what is going on? So that's our first one. And it's looking good. It's sampling every little, because this is an existing ground right now, it's sampling every little nuance with it. So it's looking at every little hiccup. That's why you see all those frequencies all over the place down here. And that's what the magenta lines are. They are my frequency control. Okay. So I can go in here. I can right click over on my corridor. Either I can go in that way, or I can select my corridor out here on the plan and right click on it and go into corridor properties. Right now I'm existing 1, existing surface. I really don't need it to go all the way to station 0. I'm going to click that one little button there and start over here at the end of my property line somewhere. That's just by grabbing this little arrowhead there. And it doesn't need to go to 9. I need it to go to like 800. And my frequencies are all over the place. And I'm going to take them and kind of even them out to 5, 2, 2, and 2. And I'm going to sample all my highs so that they say yes, 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 5, and a bunch of 2s. Hit apply. Just going to resample real quick. Change things up a bit. Alright, now we've shrunk the corridor to just one little section of that existing ground profile. Alright, next thing I want to do is I need to, well, the quickest way. There's two things I can do here. I can apply a surface right now as it is. This green jagged line is my daylight line. And it should follow pretty much the existing ground that's already out here. Let's go ahead and try that out. Let's put a surface on here and see what happens. Right click on the corridor name, go into Properties. Over here under the Surfaces tab, there's no surface. I can put a finish grade. The very first button is Create a Corridor Surface. Left click on that, change the name to Finish Grade. Give it a contour style of 1 in 5 design. I need to populate it. Right now I've just reserved the name. I'm going to use links, but I'm not going to use curb. I'm going to use the top. I'm going to hit the add the little plus button, and it's going to show up right there. Overhang correction, I'm going to do top links. Hit apply. And hit OK. And as you can see, it's kind of close to what's already out there. I've got my assembly at a 2.5%, so it could be shedding at a considerably more than just 2.5%. But as you can see, I've now got a finished grade surface just of my existing road. I'm trying to follow my existing road. I need to turn off some points here, so let me go back into my surface name up here. On my tool space, right click on it and go in my surface style. I've got the points on because I was having some issues earlier. Turn off the points so it's not so confusing. There we go. Alright, now the magenta lines can be turned off if you need to turn them off. They're in the settings, general, multi-purpose styles. I think it's link styles. It's one of these, and sometimes you have to go in here and turn a whole bunch off. You only have like 2 or 3 on before it turns everything off. And those same link styles also control the colors of these lines here with the curb return line, the back of sidewalk, daylight line. All those are controlled in here underneath your link styles. For right now, I'm leaving them on just so I can see what the frequency is like, the sampling. And that's fine. It does get confusing because here I got a green alignment line and I got green going on for my finished grade along with yellow. So now, at this point, what I need to do is get a profile and alignment from the surface before I continue, because on this curb return here, on the west and the east, you know, I don't want it trying to shoot out here to the center line to get it sampling. Granted, I want it to hold the finished grade profile in center line, but I need it to stop at the edge of pavement right here. Okay? And since that's the case, I need to make an alignment of this edge of pavement from the corridor and get a profile from the corridor of this existing / finished grade in this case. So to do that, I can go to Corridors pull down, go into Utilities, create an alignment from the corridor. Don't want to go create profile. I can do that, but it won't exactly make it right. I want to create an alignment from the corridor. And I do that, it asks me in the bottom to select a corridor feature line. So I'll zoom in here to my edge of travel way. And it's going to ask me which feature line I want. I want the edge of travel way. It's going to be my south existing DeBarker Road edge of travel way. I'm going to put this as a proposed, and I have it down here in the conversion options to create the profile. I hit OK. It selects a corridor line. It thinks about it. Come on now. And it says alignment is created, profile is created. I can right click again to get out of it. Now it created the profile, but I don't see the profile anywhere, so I need to create the profile view. So back up in profiles, I can go create profile view. I've got the alignment now. I'm going to stick with the existing LAN desktop style I've been using. Station 00 to 30 plus 83. It's 950. Yeah, looks good. Going to be here. I've got no labels selected. I guess for right now, because it's existing, I want to leave it there. Otherwise, it'll get splattered. I'll hit the Create Profile button. Put it over here. So that's the edge of travel way profile as it shows. Nice little jog. And the only reason we're using this is one, to show you that that's how you would get there and do this. The second is to show you the width, and that's how you control the width. Okay, so back to our corridor. We've got the profile. Note it stationed it for that alignment that we just created right there. There's our stationing for that edge of travel way. Okay, all right, back into the corridor. Select the corridor, right click on it, go to corridor properties. go into the Parameters tab. We've got one long region from 461 to 800. I need to break that up. I can left-click on the name region and recall it Dubarco, so I know what it is, so I'm not lost other than staring over here at the alignment column. I can right-click on it and say split the region, and when I do that, it's going to let me split it from one point to another, and you can continue to split until you hit escape. So for specify station, I'm going to choose the end point. This is the first split where I want to break it to begin. It's going to be the end point of the curb return profile. New region is created at 6 plus 70 and change. And then the next station is the end point of the other curb return profile. And it says new region is created at 742 and change. And I'll just right click to get out of it. And poof, it shows up there magically. Left click again in the box. I'm going to call this intersection. Now I'm kind of naming these so I don't forget what these are. It is suggested to kind of name them. That's simply left clicking to do that. I want to change up the assembly in the middle one from the existing road to the existing road intersection because it doesn't have a curb on it. Okay. Also, now that I'm here, I want to set all targets. I want to check my targets. Note that when I split the region, it held the targets and continued it down, so that's good. I'll hit OK, and I'll hit OK. It's modeling the corridor. And now I have broken the corridor into 3 regions. This is region 1, region 2 in the middle, region 3. Now, the surface is kind of doing its own thing here. That's fine. It's going to follow it through whether or not I have that region there. It's assuming since I don't have a curve, going straight to existing ground. And remember, surfaces are done with a tin, not contours, so sometimes they won't meet precisely like this. And that means you need to paste the 2 surfaces together, give them a finished grade look, and put a boundary around them so that the finished grade looks correct for your county or city official who's staring at it. If the county or city official is smart enough to know this, he won't mind that these 2 don't meet, but not a lot of them are. Well, they're smart, but not saying that. I'm just saying that when they look at it on a piece of paper, it looks sloppy because it doesn't meet up with the existing contours. Even though that's truly where it ends according to the tin, and it meets into the actual elevation point. All right, so we've got a nice break, and we need to add in our next alignment here. And usually what I do is I put in the main street first, I put in the new street next, then I put in one curb return, and then the other curb return. Okay. So first, and before I can get a finished grade profile of any of these curb returns, I need to at least minimally get this next street in here correctly, okay? So back into the corridor properties, left click, right click on the properties. I've got one baseline in here, Dubarco, and it's all filled up. Let's add another, and this is where it's great. And how do I explain this to one guy? This is, it's like cooking, making pizza and something like that. You just keep adding stuff to it, and eventually in the end it's a great little product. So you start off with pizza with cheese and sauce, and that's our existing road. Now I want to add some pepperoni, so we'll put in the new drive. Here's our new drive, our next alignment. It's going to ask me for a profile. I'm going to actually use the finish grade. Because I put an underscore on the name, if you see that right there, it bumped it right to the top. That's the trick there, to get it right to the top so you don't screw up and accidentally grab existing grade. Well, that's great. I've got it in there. It's from 0 to 348. The problem is right now that I really need to break this up a little bit more. So I'm going to add some regions just like I did up here. I'm going to right click and add a region. My first region, I actually had to think this through, is my new drive with wall, a half street section. So I'll hit OK. And instead of starting at 0, which is the center line right there of existing Dubarco Road, or starting at the intersection here, because that really pertains to this curb return profile on the east side, I'm going to start right here at the end of this curb return. So I'm going to grab, with my arrowhead, the end point of that curb return. And I'm going to end this, and like I mentioned this earlier, at the other curb return's beginning point, end point of that curb return alignment. And that's just one region. I'll call this the new drive. Oops, if I put a W there. Okay. So that's part of it. We'll hit apply, and you'll see how this works. See, I got a half assembly, and it's applying just a half. There's a retaining wall over here. We're looking good. So it just did one section. Now I need to apply the rest of it. Again, I can add a region, and when I add a region this time, I want to use the new drive with wall. and that will try to pick it up to the very end. Note it picked up the identical end station and stuck it right at the start. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that the end station is always less than or equal to the start station. Sometimes the program gets confused if you manually type it, so picking it works better. If you manually type it, change it by like a tenth. So instead of being at 0.32, make sure it's 0.22 for the end, and the beginning starts at 0.32. That way it doesn't think it's overlapping. It won't work if it's overlapping. Knowing that I'm doing this as a wall, I'm going to end this just for giggles at the end of the station, right there at the end of that wall. I'm picking that so it picks up the perpendicular station. And that's new drive, wall. Finally, I'm going to add in the last one more region. And this will be my new drive. And I'm not going to run to the end of it. I'm going to run it somewhere over here near 2. I really don't need to run it to the end. Sometimes I have issues with it. And that's looking great. And I'll hit apply. I'll hit OK. And it's picking up the contours and stretching them over. Right now I haven't told it to target anything, so it's just seeing it as is. I need to target the sides of these so that it picks it up. And it's great that it's filling it in all the way through. Let's go ahead and change up the frequency and add some targets. So I'm going to select the corridor. When I do that, the whole corridor lights up. Right click, grab corridor properties. So first let's change our frequencies back to 5 and a whole bunch of 2s. And profile highs and lows, yes. And now I'm going to hit set all targets. And again, you see it's getting much more populated here. Here's the profile targets. And I have named some of these assemblies: drive right lane, drive left lane, wall. You can drag these out to see what these are really called. You can tell if I've copied something over, it puts a little parenthesis with a 1 in between it. 2 parentheses, 2 1s means it's copied twice. The more parentheses, the more copies. There's a double copy there. If I scroll to the top, my target surface for this first 2 regions off to Barco are there, but nothing else has been targeted. So I need to set those again. Click here to set all, existing ground. Hit OK. Hit OK. Just to see what's going on. Looks a little better. Now I'm tagging the existing ground. It's not too bad. Okay. A lot better, actually. Okay, now, at this point, I really need to get some finished grades going on here with my curb returns. I got existing grades, but I got no finished grades going on. There's a couple ways to do this, but the easiest way I have found to do this, and you know, when you get your frequencies tighter, by the way, that it looks more circular. It doesn't look so jagged. The tighter the frequency, the better and more circular it looks. All right, so to get my finished grades for a curb return, like let's say the west one, I can start off with profiles, create profile by layout, and of course it asks me to select the profile view. I'll scroll in here to my west one and select that one. It's going to be my underscore finished grade profile. It's going to give me the profiles layout toolbar. It's going to start the next one. I've done this like apparently 9 times. It says parenthesis 9. I'm going to first go draw tangents without curves. It's going to say in the command line specify start point. Now this is where my transparent commands come into play. I need to get the start point and elevation from the plan. So I'm going to go up here to my transparent command. I'm going to find the profile station and elevation from plan view. I'm going to hit that. And down below it's going to say select a profile view. So I'll select the view again that I was just in. Now it's going to say select a surface. I'll scroll down to my plan view and select the finished grade surface that is created from the corridor. Now it's going to ask me for a point. Make sure, this is where I usually mess up the worst, to select the 0 point first, end of, and then it's going to ask me to select my end point. And I can go end of, and this is getting it straight from the corridor. And that should do it. Note I've got a nice little blue line. When I did the first one, it threw it there, and I did the second one, it threw it at the end, and I right click to get out of it, escape one more time, and I got a 6% curb return. Now for this road that's fine because this is on a hill going down, and it's a hill going into the property either way. It's not no flat. It doesn't have a dip in it or nothing. It's a hill each way, no matter what. If it had a dip and I knew I needed to throw a low point in at this point or a high point in, I could go back to my profile layout toolbar. I could get my insert PVI, and I could throw one up there. And then I could put in a nice little corner like this. Free vertical curves, PBI base, throw it in here. Maybe it's a 20-foot corner. There's my quickie curb return. Now, I know as a designer, this is not how I normally design my curb returns. Normally, I get a finished grade perpendicular elevation from the existing road versus the proposed road, and I do a blend and I bring it back to the start of the alignment and again to the start, pick the midpoint and start getting it more circular. For a quick finish grade of a curb return, this is how you would do it. And if you wanted to continue and do something like that, you could do that using these transparent commands and the profile station elevation from plan. You could grab an alignment point. But this is just the quickest way to get the curb return on the paper and get it in the corridor. Whether you mess with it after it's in the corridor, just like anything else, it's dynamic. It'll update to what you decide to do in the end. So you can start with a rough, just like I have, which I'll go ahead and delete what I did real quick. I'll start with my rough, and if I need to go back later and manipulate it more because it doesn't look quite right on my contours, I will go and manipulate it more and update it. And as I update this profile, it will update in the corridor and all the way through to the finished grade. So just keep that in mind. You're not stuck with the original, but at least you have a true starting and ending point according to the finished grade from the existing ground on DeBarco and a new driveway profile on the other side. What happens in between is really up to you. Alright, so we've got that. I need to get my other one going on over here. So again, I'll go Profiles, Create by Layout, select the Profile View, underscore Finish Grade, hit OK. That same box comes up, hit the Draw Tangents, go back to my Transparent Command Toolbar, grab the Profile Station and Elevation from Plan, grab that, and the command line asks to select a profile view. I'll select the east side. Again, it asks for a surface. I'll select the surface of the finished grade corridor. Select a point, again starting at the 0 plus 0, 0 station of the alignment, going to the end of the alignment. If I hit escape once, it backs me usually out of the command. Escape twice backs me out of the corridor, and I got this screaming profile going on the other side, which is expected because it's a steep little hill, 8% on one end and 6 to 9 on the other. So for right now, I'm going to leave it because for webcast purposes, this just gets the point across how you're doing this. You could add in later. Now I'm done with my transparent commands. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I've got 2 finished grade profiles for curb returns. All right. Next, we need to put these curb returns into our corridor down here. I'm going to start on the west side. And that's, let's pick a side, basically. I'm just going to start on the west side. And let me fill this in before I really start. When you're doing these regions, keep them in order. Don't do region 1, then region 4, then region 6, then region 2, and then region 5. Don't jump around. You got to keep them in order. It'll confuse the corridor otherwise. So if you do region 1 and it stops at 2, the next region needs to start at 2, not start at 5. And the second region ends at 4, then the third region needs to start at 4, not starting at 2. So make sure they go in order. Don't mix them up. And I really do suggest putting in your curb returns after you've got in your 2 main alignments. That really does help, doing the curb returns last. And the more roads you put on here into your corridor, the more curb returns you have. So the last suggestion I do have is to print out your alignments and start naming or numbering your curb returns on paper so you can follow them when you're in the corridor box, because it can get really convoluted. You can get a lot in there and you can get lost real quick, because as you see, this says baseline 2. I'm going to add in 2 more. I've had this thing where it's like 20 some odd alignments with curb return alignments deep, and it gets convoluted real quick. And you're like, okay, what was where? So, all right, so the next one, this is just our new drive up here. Our next baseline, we'll add another baseline, and this is going to be our curb return west. And we'll use the finished grade that we just created, number 9. And I need to actually split this up because I need 1/2 of it to go to the new drive profile centerline finished grade. The other half I need to go to the existing grade of the existing road, DeBarco Road. And I'm going to start with the new drive. So I'm going to add a region. And this is going to be a curb return This is a west, and you'll have this. What's interesting is you use the same assembly for both. It's just targeting is different. I'll hit OK. And when I do that, it says it's got the whole thing, 0 to 46. Well, I don't want it to go to 46, so I'll hit the pick button here. And I want it just to go to the intersection of pretty much about that point right there. It doesn't have to be exact, but close works well. Okay. So that's my first region. And I could rename this real quick to the new drive Kirby Turn. So that's my new drive. I need to set my targets. Before I even think about going to the next region, I need to set my targets. And why is that? Because look at all these targets. Oh my gosh, how confusing. I know that what I just added is at the very bottom of both the alignment right here, from there down with target, 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 and outside elevation and target profile of. Those are this is the 4 of the alignment and the 2 of the profile that I just added from the curb return alignment and its assembly for that first half of the curb return. So that's the first thing I do is go to the set all targets button before I go back and add the second half. Otherwise, I got to remember which one's where. But it always puts the very last thing you did in at the very bottom of everything. So on my outside elevation profile, it's set to none. I'm going to click on it. And I don't want to use the east. I actually wanted to really override-wise, I wanted to take the new drive center line, finish grade profile. So that's my new drive. Plus, up here on my alignment where it says with alignment, if I scroll up, this says alignments. This is the curb return right lane. I'm actually going to go to the new drive center line. So I drag that pavement piece out to the center line of my new drive. I'm not going to worry about this target profile slope. This has to do with the urban sidewalk. Note the piece that's associated to it. I can't change the subassembly piece. The only thing I can change is the object name that it's attached to. And finally, my target surface is the existing grade. That's like always there. I love how whenever you get in this box, it goes shh. It starts you at the very bottom, no matter what. Shoots you straight there. Hit OK. If I hit apply, I just want to show you how this works. Hit OK. I'm going to back this off a little bit. You can see I've got one frequency from the bottom here to the intersection there and a really tight fit. And a funky looking contour doing something funny there. I need to change that up a little bit so it makes a little more sense. Okay, so back into the corridor properties. I love how the frequencies have been resetting themselves. This is, by the way, didn't start happening until I put on a service pack for Vista. This was absolutely working fine before I did that. So I'm not sure what's going on, but it's not an AutoCAD Civil 3D thing. Alright, now we've got 5 and 2. So here we go. From the center point out here, it's stretching. And my contours are looking a little bit better. Yes, they're jagged. They're a little bit better. Could be smoother, though. And that's probably because of the steepness compared to where this finished grade is here versus what's going on around this corner. Alright. This looks like I may have a low spot heading in right there. Let us go ahead and add in the second half. New properties. Okay, second half. Add a region. This is going to be, again, curb return west. And this region is my existing DuBarco Road. Without a D. Okay. Alright, so again, I'm going to go to set all targets. And this one's definitely going to go from the intersection point to the very end, and that's fine. The difference with this one, granted, I'm going to set the profile to the existing grade center line of DuBarco Road, but my width, I only need the width alignment for this curb return west, really to go to the south existing DuBarco Road edge of travel way, that edge of travel way on the south side of the road, because I don't want it running into what's going on with the existing road. So that's where I'm going to set it. But the profile, like I said before, really needs to be based off of the existing DuBarco Road, existing grade. And again, I'm going to go up here and check my surface and set it to existing ground for that. Hit OK, hit OK. Check my frequencies. I love how they've reset again to varies. Make sure I set everything up right this time so it doesn't look kind of funny. Okay. Hit OK. And poof, it matches right here. And this is ugly because of my profile alignment. So if I go through and vary my profile alignment, that'll be, a lot better. If I actually put a finished grade over here on the intersection, that follows a lot better than the jagged existing ground, which I could do right now. It'll be even better. which I've noticed it does this if I do that. So if I do profiles, create by layout, grab here, underscore, finish grade, hit OK. If I draw a tangent and profile station, we're going to grab this one. This time I'm going to grab my existing grade surface, and let's say I go from near here to near, kind of go out here a little bit, just kind of random points. There's my quick profile of a finished grade from one point to the other, just connecting two dots. So maybe I'll go up there and wipe half that out, even though I may not do this, just for sakes of the corridor to make it work and behave a little better. My existing DeBarco Road, I can change up, not the alignment, but the profile on it to that finished grade alignment. Make sure I got the targets looking okay for that one. Nothing changed to my surfaces, looks good. If I hit OK, give it a second to crank it out. Now this is caused when you get this problem here, which this is what I was having earlier. It's because I'm running into the existing grade and telling it start here, stop there. And so it's seeing a 0 point, which is a pill. That's the only reason why it's doing that. And yes, it looks ugly. I admit to it. But you can see what's going on. Why is it doing that? It shouldn't be breaking it all up, and that's from the creating that in. Well, I'll take it out real quick. You know, it's not a perfect program. I wish it was. I think it looked better with the existing grade now that I think about it. Come on. Behave. So that's looking better. I may adjust this in a few minutes. Let me go ahead and throw in this other curb return and see what it does. See if it looks just as ugly. Before I didn't have this issue going on right here when I was running through this earlier. Alright, so let's get this last curb return on here. Go into the properties, add in a baseline, curb return east, choose the new finished ground, add a region, curb return east, and the region starts at 035. It runs not to 35 but to the intersection somewhere. Hold on, which one is it? Yeah, it's that one. To this intersection right there. That'd be close enough. Got the region there. Again, this is the new drive. And now I'll go to set all targets. Again, it's going to have a wall height. It's going to have an outside elevation. Is really going to be the new drive and the finished grade of it. The profile alignment, though, up top, this width alignment will be the new drive width alignment. Okay. Hit apply. Change up the frequencies, because this one's stuck again, not holding everything. Now, if I understand this correctly, when you're in the commands, which I haven't done yet, I'm just using the stock out of the box. When you're in the commands section of the settings, you should be able to change that so the frequencies are always preset to whatever you want. That way they're not all straight 25s. So there's my curb return coming around. It's looking a lot better on the other side, isn't it? Okay, back into the properties of the corridor. Oops. I'm going to add a new region. Again, this is the curb return east. Picking it up from the back to the end, that's fine. Set all targets. This time, my target profile for this east lane is the existing DeBarco Road, existing ground. And my alignment is actually going to be the south existing DeBarco Road, edge of travel way. And it's going to see, now that one worked beautifully. Gotta love the existing ground on this thing. Let's make sure I didn't have anything funky going on here. So that's the existing DeBarco road. Gotta love it. Here, reset my targets. Make sure I get them all set. Hit OK. Like I said, you're in and out of that target box an awful lot. Oh, and what else? I need to get my frequency changed up real quick. So right now my frequency is set to 25. Let me change that again to 5 and a bunch of 2s. That looks better. See, now the minute I change the frequencies, that's where I'm having problems. Let's see, what's going on with the frequency that's messing with us? This could be just simply a simple setting here. It also could be, let's see, we're going to try this. We'll turn off the high and low point sampling and see if that fixes it. Because it's awful jagged. Let's try, that didn't quite get it. So if that's not it, we don't have any spirals going on, so we can reset that. Reset that. That's the profile curves. Gotta love how that's all linked together. Don't have any supers. I'm going to take off the profile geometry points. It's looking better. So profile geometry points from the existing gray because it's so darn bumpy. Now you note that it's following here, then it's blending it over. This is a shed section trying to go into a blend. So that is how you would get to your surface out of everything. As you change things up, it'll look better. And like I said, once you get this part done up here, you can start manipulating with the Kirby Turns and find out what's going on. If there's anybody got any questions, if you hit *6, I can start fielding questions. We got about 10 minutes before the webcasts end. Hopefully this made a lot of sense to you guys. And like I said, I am recording this so that you can have this again to look at and figure out how we're doing things. So any questions right now? It's pretty silent.
All callers are muted. All callers are unmuted.
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you now. All right, questions away.
I don't think we have any questions, actually. There's just a couple of us in here. Oh, is there?
Yes, the recording will have video and audio. It should do a whole screen capture of what I just did, along with the audio of the talking through it here. That's why I'm recording it. Got the microphone up, so it will be available in a couple days. And I'll probably have to burn it to a DVD or put it on our FTP site. I'm not sure which way we'll go with that yet, but we'll make it available for all. So if you guys want to have it in a few days, it'll be much more available. Any other questions? Yeah, I'll email you when it's ready. I'd love to do that. That's not a problem. I'll have Rachel send out a mass email to all the participants and let them know that it's available and on the website. That way you guys will definitely be able to see it and replay it again. Was the mouse moving too fast for you guys, or were you able to keep up with what I was doing?
I was able to keep up, but I was having a little bit of trouble understanding all the definitions of things, but that's just lack of familiarity.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Yeah, it's, you know, the language, the terminology can be a big hang-up sometimes with Civil 3D. If you're used to using land, it's kind of hard how to associate them across each other. So it's a little bit laggy. Yeah, hopefully the webcast, when I do the with the recording, hopefully it will be a lot less laggy per se. So therefore, look for the DVD or the downloaded off the website when it comes in. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed what I showed. I hope you learned a little something. And we'll wrap it up here at 11 o'clock, and I'll just stay on for any questions you guys may have. And thank you guys for joining us for this presentation. We'll be doing something again next month. I'm not sure what they've got up their sleeves. I think Jesse's on next month for doing webcast. Or it's Craig, one of the two.
Yeah, there you go. If you have some free time, maybe you can go through some of the particular setups on some of those sub-assemblies.
On the assemblies? That's a good question. What was I using? From the general pull down, just to quickly get into what I was using for those pieces, I got the tool palettes here. Let me close up the little GoToMeeting guy. Alright, so I used the Lane Outside Super under the Imperial Roadway tab for my lanes. And that's because I can get a sub-base, a base, a pavement 1, and a pavement 2 for different lifts of pavement for depths. I can also get cross-sections off that, which is great. I use that for all my lanes just about all the time. The only time I go this Imperial Basic is I like this basic side slope cut ditch, because this will either give me an actual ditch, or if I zero out everything but the cut and the fill, it'll just give me cut and fill down to existing or whatever grade surface I'm going to. So basic side slope cut ditch. I ignore the daylights. I just don't like that. And I don't do that one either. Where is it? Gotta find it. Imperial Structures is my other favorite. I used the very first one, the Urban Curb Gutter General. If you're doing a rolled curb, you want to do this gutter valley, usually. And I like the Urban Sidewalk because it lets you either it puts it at a slope, it lets you control that slope, and it lets you also put in either a boulevard on the inside or outside for your planter box. I've used these bridges before, which are great, and they literally bridge across and actually knows that it's a bridge, and it behaves like a bridge when you're going across a stream or something. So it doesn't try to daylight down to the stream when you have a bridge in place. And the retaining wall Tapered is the one I used this time around for a simple retaining wall, although I have played with the rest of these retaining walls a bit. But that seems to be, for me, that works the best. And those are the pieces I've been using, basically. So Imperial Structures mainly, Imperial Roadway, and one off of Imperial Basic. And that's how I put those together. Because as you put them together, like over here I've got this sidewalk, this guy here, you can go into the sub-assembly properties of them and change up their parameters. You can vary the B here, which if I hit sub-assembly help, the B here is the apron of your curb return there. So you can change those up by checking out with the little help button right there what's going on. And you can change up the slopes. And that's how I'm getting all those. Now, whether or not I use a finished grade on the existing ground, you know, whether you use it or don't, I know when I do use it like this, sometimes I have issues with it when I'm starting here. And they say that's because, well, you didn't connect to existing grade. But I started at existing grade, so I sure don't understand why it hiccups like it did when I got all those real tight contours going to 0. There's just, and sometimes all you gotta do is back it off a hair, and then it's fine. But try to avoid it. And before, when I was doing this, I wasn't getting all these real zaggy contours going around. So I'm kind of going, what is going on? And I note I have a gap here in my plan view, and that's because the frequencies, I changed them up to like 10 feet. If I tighten these frequencies up, these lines will actually meet up, just like these guys do over here. Yeah. Oh yeah, well, and the thing is, I'm telling this curb return to use the slope of this center line from this half of the curb this way. So it's using this slope, but it's seeing something here. And I don't know why it's doing that. It shouldn't be using any of the edge of travelway stuff, other than to stop the width pull on it. Yeah. And what's interesting is I changed this thing slope-wise. So that's left, that's right, that's the one. And that's the same.
Rebuilding that main road. So shouldn't be changing it.
Right. But it is. It's looking at my my assembly piece and it's trying to drag it up. I swear that it's just, what the world is going on there? So that's, let me see what I got here. That's a 2.5%. Negative 2.5. That one is, well, that might be my problem right there. They don't have matching slopes. It's getting confused. I do know if you don't have everything identically matching, it gets confused real easy. I noticed that before, and I was pretty shocked to see if I had two different pavement depths that it had issues. Let's see if that helps it any here. Matching it up a little bit. And you can you can change the surface up, because now the surface I created, the finished grade here, I could also go back into the properties of the corridor, add in another surface, call it a datum. So I can take a come on, datum. So I can take a volume off of it. I can do that. No display. And notice it shows up here just like a normal surface. I can go into these surfaces and go into the style of them. Turn on the tin that it created. And look at the points and figure out what points are causing what to do what. And start taking them out. Or, you know, moving them up and down like they should be. So it's, you know, it's... I don't mind using it. It works pretty good for what I need it to do. Usually what it is I got 1 or 2 points in here that are false that shouldn't be there, and that's affecting the whole thing. I've had to do that before where I just start taking out these side points. So it just sees what's going on here and what's going on over here, and it pulls them down. So if I go in here, in my surface, go to edit, start taking out these funky side points. Which I've done before. Not today, but I've done before for other jobs. Because I've actually had this happen before. And say, you know what, these aren't, there's no way that those are true, because really it's, shouldn't be looking there. And the minute I start taking them off, it starts behaving better. Although it still sees 3 little points right there. So you can change this stuff up. Where's my alignment? That's my alignment, so. And it could also be that I've got a bad number right here at the intersection causing that, but you can force it to start doing what you want to do and manipulate the contours around. So you're not stuck to everything that it tells you, but it will do the calcs for you, which is nice. It'll do the contour bends and all that, and at least give you some type of curb return profile up here to get started with, and then you'll go back through there and manipulate it so it works correctly. So, okay, that's all we got for today. Thank you guys for coming and joining me here, and we hope to see you next month. You guys have a good day, and I'll catch y'all later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.